You ever think you really know someone, like really know them deep down, and then one day they go and prove you never really knew them at all? That's what happened with my marriage to Sarah. We were together 15 years. Can you believe that? Married right out of college and stayed together through thick and thin for over a decade and a half. I mean, don't get me wrong, we had our ups and downs like any couple. Fights over money, struggles with raising kids, periods where we'd get stuck in ruts and the romance was melting away. But at our core, I really thought Sarah and I were Zissou partners. We'd make it through any crap storms that came our way because we loved each other to the end of the earth. We had two boys together, Jake and Ryan. Jake was 12 going on 25 with his teenage attitude already in full force. But Ryan was still my little 9-year-old buddy, always keeping things light and fun, no matter how tense things got around the house. Despite the normal family headaches, I really thought we had something special. Our marriage was the real deal, built to last through whatever life threw our way. Man, was I dead wrong about that. The first hint that something was off with Sarah was how goddamn secretive she became. It was like flipping a switch one day. She went from being this open book that I thought I knew inside and out to holding everything close to the vest. Laughing with her friends on the phone, and then quickly whispering, "Gotta go," the second I walked in the room. Texting constantly with this stupid little smirk on her face whenever her phone buzzed. It was driving me up the wall. Then she started doing little things like always taking calls in another room whenever her phone rang while we were hanging out together. Who the hell is so important that you need to make your husband feel like an afterthought every time they call? I brushed it off at first, but it just kept happening over and over again. The secrecy and the dodging, it's like she had gotten stupidly paranoid that I was going to be listening in on her super private convos or something. But even worse was how she started dolling herself up to go to work every day. Sarah worked as an accountant at this little firm downtown, nothing too crazy, but she started putting on a full face of makeup and doing her hair all fancy, dressing up in skirts and blazers like she was the sexy secretary going in for Don Draper. Then she'd be a total zombie when she got home, not saying a peep about her day until suddenly it was 8 p.m. and she'd just lost track of time at the office. Yeah, likely story. So this whole sketchy behavior from Sarah was already driving me up the wall for weeks before my 40th birthday rolled around. I'm not an idiot. I could see the signs she was being shady as hell, but I didn't want to make huge accusations without proof. I kept holding on to hope that I was overreacting and my wife wasn't actually capable of doing anything scummy behind my back. Then the night before my 40th, Sarah comes waltzing in saying she's gonna go hang out with some friends from work after her shift ends. Friends from work? She didn't have a crew that she regularly went out with. This was a new excuse. But I went with it, playing it cool and telling her, "Sure, babe, have fun." Little did I know that would be the start of my world crashing down around me. Sarah rolled in at like 3 a.m., reeking of booze with her makeup smeared and hair all matted up. I was sleeping on the couch and woke up to the sound of her clicking across the floor in her heels. I hit her with the "Where the hell were you?" and she gave me some crap story about grabbing drinks after work and then going dancing with the girls. But there was no way. I could see it on her face. She had that look of a liar who knew they were caught. We got into a huge fight, but she just kept brushing me off like I was being an insecure jackass. That's when I knew something wasn't right. The very next day was my 40th birthday. I'm expecting at least a little acknowledgement, maybe a nice home-cooked meal, or even just a perfunctory happy birthday from my wife. But Sarah and the kids weren't even around most of the damn day. She claimed they were running errands and getting a few things, but couldn't give me any actual details on what was so important. When they finally did come waltzing back through that door hours later, Sarah could barely even look me in the eye. No happy birthday, baby. No touching, no kisses, not even eye contact really. She just basically brushed past me to shuffle the kids off to their rooms. like I was some freaking ghost or something just haunting the place. At that point, the alarms were sounding off like crazy in my head. I knew Sarah was messing around with someone else. I could feel it in my gut. So late that night after she went to sleep, I checked her phone records online. And there it was, clear as day. Dozens and dozens of calls over the past few weeks to the same single number I didn't recognize. My heart just dropped into my stomach. All the shady behavior, the lies, the excuses, it all made sense now in the worst way. After seeing all those shady calls to the same unknown number on Sarah's phone records, I knew I had to face facts. My wife was having an affair. The signs were all there. I was just too much of an idiot to see them for what they really were at first. All the shadiness, the secrets, the nights out with friends. My gut had been telling me something was seriously off, but I didn't want to believe Sarah could ever betray me like that. But I needed proof before dropping a bomb on our marriage. I didn't want to make accusations without rock-solid evidence to back it up. So I hired one of those sketchy private investigator dudes to do some digging and catch her in the act. Felt pretty scuzzy having to go that far, but I had to know for sure what was going on once and for all. A few days later, the PI comes through with photos that just shattered me. Caught Sarah red-handed checking into a cheap motel in the middle of the day with some douchebag from her office. The guy's name was Daniel. And there they were in broad daylight looking shady as hell and sneaking into a gross pay-by-the-hour kind of joint. I'll never forget seeing those photos, just burning images in my mind of my wife's betrayal and lies. Absolutely brutal. I just felt completely gutted, man. Like someone had ripped out my insides and stomped all over them. Seeing those photos of Sarah with that scumbag Daniel was one of the worst moments of my life, and that's really saying something. I loved that woman with everything I had, and she just trampled all over our marriage vows for some cheap fling. It made me sick. The betrayal cut so deep. All those years together, 2 kids, a life we built, and she threw it away like it was nothing. Just tossed out all the memories, the family we made, for a few cheap thrills with her sleazeball coworker. I don't think I've ever felt pain like that before or since. Absolute heartbreak and rage all tangled up together. At that moment, staring at those god-awful photos, I knew there was no coming back from this. Sarah had broken the ultimate trust that a marriage is built on. I could never look at her the same way again without seeing her lying and cheating. The disrespect was just unforgivable in my books. Right then and there, I decided our marriage was overdone. I didn't care what she said or how much she might beg. I knew I could never get past what she did to me, to us. I was absolutely fuming after getting that proof from the PI. Just blind rage coursing through me. Sarah had gone on some work conference trip for a few days, and I knew this was my chance to get back at her for what she did. See, I'm usually a pretty level-headed guy, but finding out about her affair just flipped a switch in me. All I could think about was vengeance. While the lying cheater was off gallivanting around God knows where, I went nuclear on her stuff at home. Threw all her crap into boxes and garbage bags like a madman. Clothes, shoes, family photos, the whole 9 yards. Didn't care if I was wrinkling her precious business attire or breaking any of her knickknacks. She deserved way worse for what she put me through. Then right before she was due home, I hauled every single box and bag out to the front lawn and changed all the goddamn locks. Could you imagine her face when she rolled up after her trip to see the driveway piled high with her belongings and having no way to get back inside her own house? That was the moment I finally felt a tiny bit of satisfaction after the betrayal. Like I had a sliver of control back over this nightmare situation she created. I was ready for the fallout. Sure enough, Sarah comes pulling up looking all confused to see her entire life strewn across the front yard. The look on her face when she realized what was happening, priceless. She starts freaking out, demanding to know what the hell is going on. Like she had any right to act surprised after what she did. I stayed stone cold calm though, at least on the outside. Told her I knew everything about her tawdry little motel fling with Daniel from work, that I had evidence of their affair on video from the PI. She tried to deny it at first, but I whipped out my phone and hit play on the footage. Her face just drained of all color seeing herself on camera, caught in the act. That shut her lying mouth real quick. I laid it all out. Either she goes along with my terms for a quick, clean divorce, or I take the video to her boss, her family, plaster it all over social media for everyone to see what a cheating snake she is. She'd be ruined. Sarah knew I had her by the balls, so she had no choice but to surrender to my demands. I got full custody of the kids, the house, everything. She was lucky I didn't take her for every last penny after what she did. With that video evidence shoved right in her face, Sarah had nowhere to run or hide from her affair anymore. For once in her lying life, she didn't even try to bull ***** her way out of it. I think deep down she knew I had finally outwitted her this time around. All her dirty little secrets were out in the open air now, no use denying any of it. So yeah, she begrudgingly went along with every one of my bitter divorce terms without putting up too much of a fight. Probably smarted too much to argue after I had physically kicked her out and threatened to nuke her entire life over this affair bomb I dropped. Sarah just sat there looking utterly defeated while my lawyer laid out how this was all gonna go down. A clean break, no appeals or disputes. I got full custody of Jake and Ryan, the house, everything. She'd be allowed some basic visitation, but that's it. I made damn sure to hit Sarah where it would hurt most, losing her kids and her home over her own unforgivable actions. Maybe having to settle for little weekend visits here, and there would be the punishment that would finally make her realize how bad she screwed up. Either way, I had taken all the power back from her after she betrayed me and our entire family. Her affair ended up costing Sarah everything in the end, just like it should. Those first few months as a newly single dad were rough, I won't lie. Having the kids full-time while holding down my job and dealing with the emotional fallout of Sarah's betrayal. Total shitshow. But I refused to let that woman's mistakes ruin my life or my relationships with Jake and Ryan. They were my whole world now. Meanwhile, Sarah was having to face the embarrassment of everyone finding out why our marriage bombed. Turned out there were whispers around her office about the affair, so when we split, it wasn't hard for people to put two and two together. Her own damn fault for sneaking around and not keeping it in her pants. Stupid decisions, stupid consequences, that was her mom's favorite saying growing up. I made sure the divorce details were crystal clear too. Sarah was getting the bare minimum in terms of custody and no claim over the house or my assets. Yeah, it was harsh, but so was going behind my back and lying to my face every single day for God knows how long. She raked herself over the coals with her own actions. If anything, I went a little easy on her by not going scorched earth and trying to nail her for everything. After the dust settled from that whole nightmare divorce, I finally felt ready to stick a toe back into the dating pool again. Wasn't really looking for anything serious at first, just testing the waters. That's when I started going out for casual drinks and dinner with Emily, this cute woman who worked a couple floors down from me. We'd grab happy hours sometimes, and I found myself actually enjoying the company of another woman for once, if you can believe that. Don't get me wrong, it took a long while before I could even think about really opening myself up again after Sarah nuked our marriage with her affair. The betrayal she put me through, it leaves these deep scars, you know? Like I lost a big piece of my ability to trust completely. But Emily was patient with me and gentle and easy to talk to. She knew my situation and didn't try to push anything too fast, just letting me find my way at my own pace while I worked through the hurt. And you know what? Spending time with Emily, seeing how an honest, loyal woman is supposed to act, it started allowing me to peel back the layers and come out of my shell again. Letting go of the anger and pain from Sarah's life-shattering actions. building some hope again that maybe, just maybe, I could find a slice of happiness and trust in a partner after everything I went through. Emily was a bright light in my life when I needed it most. Looking back on it all now, after the brutal way things ended with Sarah, I've spent a lot of time thinking about marriage and what it really means. The words "till death do us part." They're supposed to mean something, to have weight and permanence. But then you get cheaters like my ex-wife who just spit all over those vows without a second thought. Infidelity, that real cold-blooded betrayal of trust and commitment, it's one of the cruelest things you can do to your supposed loved one. Especially with kids in the picture like Jake and Ryan got caught up in. I'd always thought I knew Sarah, that we had something real and lasting. But her actions during that affair, they showed me I never truly knew her at all. She was a complete stranger wearing a mask, living a lie right under my nose for who knows how long. It really jades you on the whole concept of marriage when the person you cherished most in this world suddenly pulls the rug out with that level of disrespect and deceit. Part of me will always have trust issues now because of what Sarah did. Maybe a bit of a cynical view on love and commitment, too, after experiencing that magnitude of hurt firsthand. All I can say is that infidelity shakes you to your core and changes you forever. As much as Sarah's betrayal tortured me for a long time, I've had to learn to accept what happened and not let it consume me anymore. Don't get me wrong, the way she cheated and tore our family apart is something I'll never fully get over. That sting of being the betrayed spouse never entirely goes away. But carrying all that hatred and anger around like a ball and chain was only weighing me down in the end. I was the one living in my own personal prison of resentment over her actions. At some point, I had to be the bigger person and try to forgive, not for her sake, but for my own peace of mind. I'll never excuse or justify what she did, but I can't keep giving Sarah that much power over my emotions anymore. The cheating asshole doesn't deserve that courtesy from me. I've worked hard to move forward, to find some joy again through my kids, my job, my relationship with Emily. Can't erase the past, but I'll be damned if I don't at least accept it and stop letting it control my here and now. As for what the future holds, who the hell knows? All I can say is that after going through the waking nightmare of Sarah's affair, I'm taking it one day at a time these days. Not going to lie though, the thought of tying the knot again gives me cold feet after having my heart shattered into a million pieces like that. But you know what? I'm also not going to shut myself off from taking another chance if the right person comes along. Despite that whole sordid experience, I'd like to think I've still got some love left to give to someone deserving this time around. A woman who actually understands the meaning of respect, loyalty, and forever in a marriage. Emily's been showing me it's possible to rebuild that hope and trust again. Just going to play it cautiously is all. If another journey down the aisle is in the cards, it will happen naturally whenever the time is right. But I'm done being naive and blindly diving in head first like I did with Sarah. Learned that arduous lesson the hard way, that's for damn sure. The future's unwritten, but this time I'll have my eyes wide open.